I think I have content for my first video. I thought, you know, what might be cool, well, one of the many things I'd love to discuss on this channel is when real life shit happens, how to respond. Because, you know, one of the things I've realized more and more that I don't really value very much is when there are social media figures who sort of live behind a shell. And probably the reason it is confronting is to me is because I feel that I've done that a lot. I've been working on removing that more and more and being more authentic with my followers, and I made a post about that a couple months ago. But social media is a really funny thing because some people just really don't filter anything, and they're just like real and raw and don't give a fuck. And then there are some people who only post the best of their lives and portray this persona of perfection, or they try to. And I think people do that for different reasons. And I've been guilty of that for different reasons. So one has been ego. Like, for sure, that's been a huge reason that I think a lot of people do it, is like, oh, I want to look like I have all my shit together. Let me portray the best of the best. Even if I don't, you know, my followers will see a certain image that I like better than my real self. And so, you know, that'll boost my ego. That will feel good. And then there's also people who only post the positive. I've done this too, as an outlet of expression. So sometimes it's like life isn't always so perfect, but I want to post only happy things, lighthearted things, joyous things, because I know that that's like what I'm creating as a deliberate creator. And I do believe our thoughts create a reality. So if my wall is going to be the expression of me, then I want to post the reality that I want to create through deliberate intention. So it might not 100% mirror what my life looks like, but at least I'm creating specifically and deliberately. So those, I think, are the two main reasons that people post like the joy and the perfection. And then you'll see people who just are like straight unconscious and just post whatever the hell, like you know, atrocities in the world, and that to me really doesn't serve. I don't know, argue with me, take me up on this, we can have a discussion about this, but personally, like, it to me, it doesn't really serve any real benefit. And I even do that sometimes too. Like, sometimes, like, if you know me, you know my hot button subjects, like for sure vaccines are a big one. Sometimes I just like can't take it, and I like need to tell the world about how mad I am about the pharmaceutical industry. But I really do try to focus the majority of my content on love and light and what I'm creating and positivity and joy and all of that. So, but then you'll see people who just like don't filter anything, and a lot of the times I think that they're just actually in a lot of pain themselves, and so it's like attracts like, and they're just posting whatever. So, and it's funny how over the years, like, I'm a big, you know, believer in the law of attraction. And it's funny to even say that because it's a law, so that means it's not really something you believe in. It's either it's present, so you either recognize it or you don't. So I am a big acknowledger, let's put it that way, of the law of attraction. And so it's interesting how my Facebook wall has over the years just like naturally filtered itself to more and more of like-minded people and what I'm creating, and just like a lot more positivity, because that's just what I'm attracting more naturally, and it doesn't really take effort. And what's cool is Facebook has all these algorithms, how they like are tracking us and stalking us and being creepy, and conspiracy theories that are probably all true, but whatever. And so they're actually like using algorithms to match what you're putting out. So the more goodness you put out, the more goodness that you follow, the more your wall reflects that. But I had an experience today where like something would definitely like was a contrast for me. And how do I even start? You know, there's a lot of like, every subject is two subjects, and there's a lot of like blessings and also like less appealing aspects to everything. So with the expansion of the universe and just the collective consciousness just genuinely awakening, there's so much magic that's happening. And the positive of that is that there's more and more enlightened people now. There's more and more enlightened entrepreneurs who have services to offer, value, joy, that they want to share with the world. And what's cool is we live in a life where you can really design your life. You can create an income doing what you love without a time clock, without a boss. Figure out a way to provide value to the marketplace, do it, and then you have social media and all these tools to help you, and you can create an income that way, which is really freaking cool. But one of the things that has been like definitely confronting to me recently has been just the there's so many coaches and there's so many gurus, and I was one of those people actually. And this is one of the reasons I sort of stopped doing what I was doing, is that like everybody and their mom is a freaking coach and an expert, and it's kind of like, you know, oversaturated. Let's put it that way. The market is oversaturated. And then the challenge, the biggest challenge I see with coaches is the need to do the thing that I started this with, is to the need to create this perfect persona. And I totally did it too, because it's like, oh, well, if I'm going to have any credibility on social media, then I need to portray a certain image so I can get clients, because otherwise no one's going to take me seriously. If my life is shit and they see it, then who's going to hire me? So now no longer do I have the freedom to just be a person and be vulnerable and raw and authentic. Now I need to like live by this portrayed image so that I get followers, so I get clients. And that's a challenge when your livelihood is correlated to your image. And those of you who've been following me for a while know I have had a lot of different images in the past. I had a phase being an Orthodox Jew, and I like to the nines. Those of you who've known me long enough know I used to cover my hair, all of that. I've had a whole fitness image, you know, so I was really into fitness, bodybuilding. I was a competitor, I was a personal trainer, and I was actually coaching people in that way. And I lost a ton of weight, and I gained weight, and I lost weight, and I gained weight. And that's a big thing on social media, is like your physical appearance, your physical image and body image. And that's a big, big loaded topic. We could probably have a whole other video about that. But the need to portray a certain appearance because of your followers and your fans. And so what I find, and this is the thing that I think like kind of makes me frustrated, and maybe someone has a perspective that will illuminate this, is that people are no longer just being real, and everybody's just trying to portray this image. And so what catalyzed this? So it's on my mind all the time, because I see like everyone's a coach, everyone's a trainer, everyone's like an expert, everyone's a multimillionaire with some business to share, and it's like, okay, I know you don't really make that, and I know you don't really, you know, it's just like, or maybe everyone's just excelling and thriving, and that's cool, and like maybe I need to be checked on this. But basically I reached out to someone authentically from a seminar we were both at months ago, and I posted, you know, I reached out to her in private message like, oh my God, I really enjoyed meeting you there, and I'd love to take you to lunch and, you know, co-create. I love meeting like-minded people. And she never responded. And I was just like, whatever. But she has really great content. Like, I love her content. She posts awesome stuff. She actually is a lot more like raw and vulnerable than a lot of coaches are. But I could see that there's some stuff also, like a lot of it is with like the directed focus of getting clients. And obviously that's her job. She's a coach, so that's what she's going to do. And she's going to self-promote on her page, which of course. But then it was funny because today, you know, I look at her posts all the time because they're good. And today she made a post about ghosting people. And I kind of was like, I didn't even actually think about it at first that I had messaged her and she didn't reply, but I was just like, oh, that's like a valuable topic for discussion. I see that comes up all the time in life and in business, you know, in business too. Like I work in an industry where I do a lot of hiring interviews and I schedule stuff and people just don't show sometimes. And I'm just like, I don't get it. Didn't your mom like teach you courtesy? Like if you're not interested, that's cool. Just be a grown ass person and say no thank you, because like I have a life and I have a schedule and I have things to tend to, so we could just save ourselves both some, you know, energy if we're just like transparent up front. And so, but I find that it's common, and I've noticed especially in LA, it's super common because I actually went on a work trip to the East Coast a couple months ago and scheduled a whole bunch of appointments, and literally every single person showed, and I was like shocked because I'm used to LA where it's just like common where you meet someone and you're like, yeah, awesome, cool, let's meet up, and then they just like don't show, and it's normal. It's like the weirdest thing. It's one of the things that I probably dislike most about LA, although it's just pretty much that in traffic, which is why I've decided to make this channel while I drive, because I can make it fun this way. So anyway, so I had messaged this girl, thought it was a cool thing. She was posting about ghosting, and then I messaged her, and then I wrote on a comment to her thread like, haha, you know, I messaged you last year, you know, check your PMs, but it's all good, something like that. Like, I wasn't giving her a hard time. It was in jest, but I was also kind of like, okay, you're making a whole thread about ghosting people, and you did ghost me. And the point was, I didn't even think of it. I didn't even think of it until she said something about it in her own post. She said, oh, someone just called me out for ghosting them, LOL, I guess I need to work on it too. So that's actually what jogged my memory, that she ghosted me, because I didn't even think of it until then. And I saw her say it. I was like, oh yeah, I messaged her too, and she also ghosted me. Isn't that funny? So she wrote back in the PM, because after we'd had this whole tagged conversation, and she was like, oh yeah, thank you for bringing this to light. It just didn't feel in alignment. And I was like, okay, like, all right, do you mind, just because your whole message and content is about transparency and authenticity, which I think is awesome. That's why I'm friends with her on Facebook. And I said, do you mind sharing what specifically wasn't in alignment? She's like, well, we're not friends. We have no prior relationship, and you're not a client. So I just felt like, you know, it didn't feel right, or I don't remember her exact language. And I was like, and she said, also, a lot of times I think that people who need to be my client and need my coaching services reach out to me to befriend me to get coaching. And that's what catalyzed this whole thing, because I was just like, I have to admit, and maybe this is ego, and maybe this, but my eyes rolled so hard, because I was like, are you freaking kidding me? Like, I need your coaching. Like, okay, you're cool, and don't get me wrong, you do provide a lot of value, and I'm sure there's a lot I could learn from you, but like, girl, like, School of Hard Knocks over here, personal development, working on my shit for many years, spirituality, I could school a lot of people. And so if I feel inspired to be your client, I will reach out, and I will be the one to tell you. And it left this weird bad taste in my mouth, because it's like everyone and their mom is now a coach, and they take themselves so seriously. Not to mention, if you've been in business for a while, and fortunately I've had the opportunity to be in business for several years now, and I have an incredible mentor who's taught me a thing or two about relationships and rapport building. If you want clients, you first need to build rapport. So even if I was her ideal avatar client, like, you'd need to reach out, you'd need to respond to the message, or like, let's have lunch, take me, I offered to buy you lunch. Like, are you the freaking prime minister that you are so busy that you can't accept a free lunch? Like, so that's where I just kind of was like, you know what, I need to shed some consciousnesses, because obviously there's something within me that actually, you know, needs resolution, needs correction or work on myself, because obviously there's something within me that this is triggering, that there's something in her response that actually I identify with, because otherwise it wouldn't have triggered me so much. So I just think it's an interesting like real life thing, and it's cool to talk about. And when I was thinking about what do I want to utilize this page for, I want to utilize it for authenticity, because I too have been very guilty of being the opposite of vulnerable online, been really just like trying to show this appearance of having things a certain way, and it sucks the joy out of life. We're not robots. We don't live in boxes. Life is dynamic. It's fluid. It's real. There's ups, there's downs, there's light, there's dark. It's just, to me, the joy is in the experiencing of it and the sifting through these types of real life things to to shed the light of consciousness to them. So maybe the lesson was just as simple as, like, we're not meant to be friends. Like attracts like, and clearly we're on different vibrations, period. That's it, simple. But I was also interested, like, why did that trigger me so much? Probably because I still have a lot of ego around my being an expert or a coach. And I'm sure I've ghosted people. Maybe I've ghosted people too. I've probably blown people off too who's wanted to be friends with me. Karma. Maybe it's just what goes around comes around. I'm getting a taste of my own medicine. I don't know. But feel free to post your comments or thoughts. I want this to be a space of just authentic sharing. And don't take yourselves too seriously. That's all I got for you today from riding in my car in LA. Ooh, that rhymed. I like that. Okay.